See it? Oh, we are live.
Oh, there we
We are
go.
live right now, according to this. All right. And hi, everybody. Welcome to Daly Fish. I'm John Daly. Eric Fish Snyder is going to be with us in a little bit, but we have the hard line from the Cost of Winning podcast, and we're going to be talking a lot about football and everything that's going on. Hey, Hardline, first of all, Happy New Year to you, buddy.
Happy New Year to you, John.
And thank you so much. Hey, crazy. We're going to start with college football here. Crazy football playoff mania. I got to tell you, to me, the craziest thing about that college football weekend on New Year's Eve was the fact that the Final Four for folks here on the East Coast, Georgia sealed the win right before midnight, right before the new year came. It was absolutely perfect timing for all of us. So we could eat and drink leading up to it. And if you didn't like the people who you were with, you could watch the game. The night went by so fast. It was like really funny. Sometimes you go to a New Year's Eve party and it's like, oh, okay, let's get to it. So hurry up and get to it so we can, pop the corks and do stuff like that. I got to tell you, those two games were spectacular as far as, and I don't know where the defenses went because you had two great defensive teams that didn't do anything defensively. But give me your take on what you saw that night.
I think this is what everybody was hoping for, or everyone's hoping for when they started the college football playoffs. I think they were looking for the most exciting teams that they could possibly match up. But I also think that they were looking for teams that had quality and standard to them. And regardless of what everybody could say about Michigan, Michigan didn't go out very easily. They made it difficult for TCU. Now, there were some bad decisions that were made and some bad executions that were made. And I know a lot of people would say, well, you could have kicked the field goal on the goal line. You go for that. You trust your team to get that on the 1 yard line to punch that in. And give a lot of credit to Sonny Dykes for a guy that's, worked his way up to be in this position. For Max Duggan, who started off as a second-string quarterback this year that nobody had as a top 14, these are the stories that you love to see. On the flip side, you look at Stetson Bennett, a guy that's a walk-on, a guy that was a Heisman finalist this year and last, and he's taking the team again to the college football championship. This is going to be a very, very good game. We'll get into the lines a little bit later, but I think TCU is a better team than what people are giving them credit for. And look, the thing is, Georgia and Ohio State, that was a back and forth matchup. It wasn't like Georgia really dominated Ohio State. Even with that little bit of hope, Ohio State did very well. And honestly, had that fake punt just gone through, we might be talking about a different situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to be honest with you, leading into that game, I thought for sure Michigan's defense was going to be more controlling. But to me, TCU's speed was far better. And it actually, I knew they were a good team, but it surprised me by how much. What did you think about some of the calls? Because I'm hearing a lot of people say, oh, the referees took it away from them. And in some respects, yeah, I think that the first touchdown that they should have scored, that they didn't score. Yeah, I think he was in. He bobbled the ball. He secured it once he was in the end zone. So I think it should have been a touchdown. On the other hand, on the next play, you don't fumble the ball on the 1 yard line. And it goes back to your thing about execution. I think I don't like Michigan fans kind of screaming about the refs because I think the refs were okay. I can't say it was like, oh my God, that was just a awful call or anything like that. What were your thoughts? Because I know you're a Michigan fan.
You know what? So the biggest thing is I'm a state fan, but for the state of Michigan, hey, my biggest thing is this. You can't blame the refs for everything. There's going to be bad calls in every game that you could say, hey, I don't necessarily know about that. The biggest thing, we talked about this off air previously. I said, people don't realize how good Jake Moody is. I said, and if I'm TCU, I'm not trying to get into the field goal game with Michigan. Michigan is going to win that field goal game. They got one of the best field goal kickers in the state, in NCAA. The biggest thing for me is this is, again, why I keep saying Michigan needs to make a harder schedule. Stop going for the easy wins, Colorado State, Hawaii, and start testing yourself. pushing yourself. So when you get into these situations, you're a much better program. If you look at most of the teams that they played this year, they weren't great. Probably the best team that they played all season is probably Ohio State. And that's not really saying too much because you haven't tested yourself. The defense is okay, but when you consider teams like Alabama and the schedule that they play, or Georgia and the teams that they play, or you look at what TCU played in the Big 12, there's a reason why they're in the championship. And when it came time to execute, they executed somewhat flawlessly. And why you look like you were running around like a chicken with your head cut off because you didn't know, because you haven't put yourself in situations to be tested. And I think this is going to keep coming back to Michigan. I know people are going to say, well, Harbaugh should have called the timeout. We talk about the fumble on the 1 yard line. We talk about the offsides. But again, that last sequence to me is accumulation of Michigan's season. The offsides, the botch snap. These are things that you have to get right. And it's easy to blame a head coach, but the head coach isn't on the field. Head coach calls the plays. Head coach has trust that J.J. McCarthy and all of them are going to execute it to the best of their abilities. And there's just certain things that they just haven't done correctly. And until they get into a position where they're playing teams that are going to challenge them to make them better, to reevaluate and ask them, what could we be better? This is always going to happen, unfortunately.
Okay. Quickly, and I know we're going to get into the Lions for the national championship game. What I thought was interesting was that Ohio State. I'm sorry, that Georgia. I think the time off hurt them because I thought their timing was off. Their defense wasn't really that good. Granted, they did come back in the end, and offensively they were there. I thought for TCU needed that break because they hadn't had a break. Almost the whole season, and allowed them to really get a lot of their good players, their skill players to get that rest. So my gut's telling me, and I'm just saying this to you right now, I think Georgia does win that game because I think Georgia woke up, and I think Georgia will become the Georgia that we had been seeing before. What's your thought on that?
You know what? I think Georgia comes away with it. I think because Georgia has the more physical defense. But the biggest thing is, and I want to give credit to where credit's due because a lot of people have kind of looked over him. Give a lot of credit to C.J. Stroud. I mean, he put on a clinic New Year's Eve. I mean, even when they were down, they weren't out. As Ryan Day says, all gas, no brakes. He really brought that team back to life. I think that he's improved his draft stock. I would not be surprised if maybe he's the first quarterback taken off the board because of how well he played and how well he executed against that Georgia team. And you know what? I know there's been a lot of people that have a lot of questions about him. I think he's the real deal. But in terms of Georgia, I think that defense is what keeps them alive. Stetson Bennett was good, but there are a couple questionable throws that he made where I was like, for a guy that's been in this position before, you should be pushing the pedal to the metal a little bit more. It seems like he was a little bit laggy. So, again, maybe it was that break. We'll see. I believe the national championship is in Pasadena this year. It's SoFi. Sorry, it's SoFi Stadium.
In LA, yeah.
Yeah, in LA. So we'll see. But, look, people in Texas travel, and they're closer to that stadium. So that might make a little bit of a difference. We'll see how that goes.
All right. All right, folks, welcome to Daly Fish. We're coming to you from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. I'm John Daly. We also have Eric Fish Schneider, who will be on momentarily. And then we also have the Hardline we've been talking to here. He's John Hardison with the Cost of Winning podcast and all of his sports betting advice that's coming up. Plus, we have much more sports. Fish's crazy memes are coming up. We have Schmuck of the Week and some political discussion and rants. Again, if you have questions or comments, drop them in the chat box here. If you're not watching us live, email us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right, let's jump into the NFL and the different scenarios. I got to tell you, what's so great about the NFL is I thought for a while Week 18 wouldn't have any games of consequence. There are still some, and we still got the games tonight. We got the big game tonight, the Monday night game. Give me what was the most intriguing scenario for you, either yesterday or what's coming up tonight for next week?
You know what? The most intriguing scenario for me yesterday, I'll give you two. One was the Jags, even though, it didn't really count necessarily. I think the Jags are playing some of the best football I've seen them play all season. It's amazing what happens when you cut dead weight and you get the right head coach to make a difference. But the other one is the Lions. A lot of people have written them off. I certainly didn't think that they would be pushing for a playoff spot after they started off 1-6, but they've been finding a way to turn it around. Again, as we talked about before, one, that half win could have come back to bite them that Washington had. Unfortunately, Washington had that collapse. But two, that loss against Carolina, that's a big loss for them because now it's a win and a little bit of help and you're in.
Yep, and this is one. It's like a playoff game, and it's also it's going to be like for someone like you who's from Michigan, and I know you're going to look at it because we'll go the bets later, but you're looking at this game. This is an emotional game. I mean, the Lions have not done much against the Packers, and this game is going to be huge for them. How do you go about thinking about that and trying to get the emotional as well as the statistical perspective in there?
Well, the biggest thing is you got to look to see what they've been doing. You got to be honest with yourself when you're looking at this team. Even though it's your team, you got to be honest, kind of the situation that you're in. You know what? The Lions have been playing solid defense. They've been good offensively lately. Outside, if you take away the Carolina game, what they've been able to do. They had wins against the Giants. They had two wins against the Bears. They split against Minnesota. And again, we beat the Packers earlier this season. So it's not like it's a team that we're not familiar with. It's not like it's a team that can't be beat. On the flip side, you do look at what the Packers have been doing the last 5 or 6 games. They've been on a tear. And again, let's be very honest with everybody. This is not Aaron Rodgers playing his best football. This is a great defense and great special teams that have been able to keep them in games and have them win. So, and they've been running the ball effectively. The double-headed monster of Dillon and Jones that have kept them there. The biggest thing that it's kind of an irritant is Green Bay now gets to close out the season on two homestands. So they played in Green Bay yesterday. Then they're going to play in Green Bay again this Sunday. Yes, because they play Sunday. This Sunday. And there were a couple questionable calls against Minnesota. I think might play into the fact of the Lions trying to get a victory. Because I'll tell you, when Jair Alexander, it's not a knock, he's a fabulous cornerback. When he hit the giddy right in front of Justin Jefferson, I was for certain they were going to call taunting. I really did. And the fact that he got away with it, that's the Green Bay effect.
Fish is with us. Fish, you're in there. Can you hear us okay, buddy?
Yeah.
Cool.
You're both full of
your
shit. No, I'm kidding. Green Bay. Well, it's real simple. This is big for Detroit hardline because they can knock the Packers out of the playoffs. And between Favre and Rodgers, you're like 40-5 and 40. I looked at some of the stats on that. You get to knock the fucking Packers out of the playoffs. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Detroit's out. If the Seattle Seahawks beat Hampton, this is everything for Detroit. Two scenarios that I heard you, John, was great. Two scenarios that intrigue me the most are if New England and Green Bay win, they're in. But I'm going to give you two teams that no one wants to see in the playoffs. That's the Chargers.
The Chargers look good. I mean, they look real good. They're starting to get healthy right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead. Finish your thought, Fish. You said the Chargers and somebody else.
The Packers. Is my audio down again, guys?
No, you're
good. You're good.
But he took off. He's having a little technical problem. There he is.
The Chargers look good, though. I mean, they're getting a lot of people back. They're getting Bosa back. Durham James is coming back. They're getting some offensive linemen back. Look at all the pieces that they have around Justin Herbert. Eckler, again, all-pro running back. But even if you look at Keenan Allen and Mike Williams as kind of a side thought, we look at is it Perryman or Parham? You've got some good second and third wide receivers that, Herbert's really slinging it around. I mean, that's a team that now that they're getting healthy, you don't necessarily want to see. With the Packers, look, the Packers could make a run, but if they play a team like San Francisco or they play a team like the Eagles in the first round, I don't have much faith, especially with them being on the road, that they're going to get it done.
My thought is that if I look at the NFC, none of the teams in the NFC at the top would scare me. When I saw the Packers play yesterday, and I thought defensively, and you're absolutely right, Aaron Rodgers he's not at the top of his game, but he's still a competent quarterback who can control the offense. That defense to me yesterday was so scary if I'm an opposing team. And to me, I think if the Packers get in, I think they do some stuff. And I think they're more frightening. The Eagles, hopefully Hurts gets back. I don't know if he's going to play next week. Certainly the Cowboys are beatable. The 49ers, let's see what they do in the playoffs. They're still pretty good. Their defense, which is fabulous, gave up a lot to the Raiders yesterday. So I think the Packers may not get in, but I think if they do get in, I think they could be very scary going through the playoffs and maybe winning the NFC.
I will say this though, this is why they say it's better to win early than to try and start winning late. Because if you look at the Lions, if they had beaten Seattle early, if they had beaten the Eagles early, or even Carolina, this wouldn't be necessarily a situation. You don't want to start off, as much as Detroit and Green Bay kind of mirror each other with the way their season went. You don't want to start off, deep in the hole and have to climb your way back out.
All right. Obviously the Bengals need to win tonight, and they also need to win next week against the Ravens. They also need the Chiefs to lose to the Raiders. I don't know if that's going to happen. I kind of see the Bills kind of controlling their destiny because if they win tonight and they beat the Pats next week, they've got the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. How do you feel about that hard line? Give me you got the Bills or the Bengals? What do you think?
I'm taking the Bills tonight. I think that they're the better overall team. The Bengals are good. I think they're a solid team, but right now, the Bills and the Chiefs control their own destiny. I think the Chiefs have the easier remaining of the schedule and playing the Raiders. And seeing the Raiders, it's a pride game more than anything versus the Chiefs that are trying to lock in that number one seed. And look, the Chiefs aren't a home run in this playoffs either. They struggled against Denver yesterday. It was not a clean game for them as much as people want. I think the Bills right now, if they win tonight, it helps. The question I have for next week is, do they play their starters the majority of the game, or do they say, hey, you know what? It's better to rest up and have Josh Allen and the rest of the boys healthy, and we'll play out because we'll go anywhere and beat anyone. All righty.
Let's bring Fish back in. He's back in there with us. Fish, let's talk about some social media bias and some of the pundits that you're seeing out there. What are you thinking?
Well, all they talked about on the work in the morning, and all they're talking about is the Jets not making the playoffs. Well, the Giants are the real story in New York, with Brian Daboll probably going to coach of the year. Okay. The second thing is it's all about Dallas, Philly, and Green Bay. There's no other teams in the National Football League other than them, and it's aggravating because there's 32 teams in the NFL. What the Raiders did yesterday with Jarrett Stidham was amazing. He made throws that I haven't never seen Derek Carr make, and that's been the big talk. Ask Hardline. That's been the big chatter here is with Carr. Peter King wrote a scathing article on Pro Football Talk this morning that Carr left the team and acting like a pussy. I don't know about that. The bottom line is there's just you have to explore other issues in the league, like Jaguars, like you guys talked about earlier. It can't be Dallas, Brady, and the Jets, for whatever reason, the Jets are more sexy than the Giants. And Daniel Jones is comeback player of the year, maybe, and Brian Daboll's coach of the year.
Yeah. Hardline, what are you thinking? Do you thinking that pundits are a little too one-sided?
I think they're one-sided, but you're talking about some of the most marketable franchises that are out there, some of the most valuable ones. I think that's kind of consistently why it goes up. Daboll's good. I do think that the head coach of the Eagles gets that Coach of the Year award. I think that he took a team that a lot of people kind of were questionable about, and especially if they lock up this number one seed, I think that he ends up getting it. It's a great story that he did this year. It's great. In terms of Daniel Jones, maybe New York's figured out what they've wanted. Maybe they've gotten the guy that a lot of us have a lot of questions about going from there. In regards to the Jets, I think the question is, looking at it, is how did you start off so good and end so bad? And I think that's what kind of goes. But yeah, look, there's some markets that get overlooked. I think true football fans know what teams are actually playing really well and what teams are just, flash in the pan. And we talked about this earlier. The Jags are playing some of the best football I've seen them play in the last couple years. I mean, their defense is real. They're coming up with stops. They're coming up with turnovers. And I think that they'll run the AFC South at least for the next couple years. I think they're that solid and that well coached, honestly. But like you said, there's teams like you brought up the Chargers. A lot of people aren't necessarily talking about the Chargers, but look how well they've been playing in the absence of a lot of injuries.
Go Fish.
Hands down, besides Dable, coach of the year by far is Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The injuries that team has had and what he's doing, the rookie quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is going to be up for Rookie of the Year this year. They have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs. Obviously, New England and Miami have to lose, and they have to beat the Browns. Could happen. But I love what Tomlin's done with that team. It's unreal.
One of the things I've noticed is that people aren't talking about, I've heard one pundit say this, that is there a worse 12-4 team than the Minnesota Vikings in the history of football?
You know what? There are some questionable teams that are out there. Minnesota finds ways to keep winning, except for yesterday, though, for the most part. But look, I could bring up a team like what was it, the 06 or 07 Chargers, where Schottenheimer just tells them, if you get the interception, just go down. Don't take it back. And, of course, they take it back and fumble.
Fish, give us your thoughts on that one.
Yeah. If the season – well, John, if the season ended today, the Giants played Minnesota in Minnesota, and NFL Network said the Giants would probably be favored.
Oh, God.
They are. Kirk Cousins is the most polarizing. He's the most polarizing quarterback in the playoffs because you don't know what Kirk Cousins you're going to get, and you got the best receiver playoffs besides Devontae Adams is not going to the playoffs. Justin Jefferson's just beautiful. So I agree with you, John. They are. I have to say, fraud. They're what they are. They're the girl you date. They're the girl you date for 3 months, and she doesn't let you in her pants. And then when she does, you find out she's a guy. That's a Minnesota.
On that note, let's talk about some New Year's resolutions in sports. Fish, do you got any resolutions? I'm sure you do for the Raiders. Is there anything you're pushing?
Yeah, I love baseball, and I like to see baseball have a really good season with the new pitch clock and some new rules, speed up the game, get more people interested. But look at my background. That's my big resolution. When you go to the game yesterday and you see 40,000 San Francisco fans in that stadium, both John, it's depressing being a Raider fan. They're Las Vegas. Nicolas Cage, Las Vegas. The Raiders are losing Las Vegas. I just want to see them have some success for the younger fans like my son. 18 out of 20 years, Hardline, they've had a losing record. It's enough. Teams go through bad times. My New Year's resolution is just win, baby. The commitment to excellence needs to come back. Just be great. It's enough. I'm done.
Hardline, I'll jump in here quickly on mine because they kind of tie into Fish's thing. One of my resolutions for the year is when I start posting stuff about baseball games, I'm going to be putting the total game time in there just to make sure that, like what Fish was saying, we got the pitch clock in there, that games are going to be down to 2 hours when it's a 5-4 game, and you're not going to bore the crap out of people. As far as my Red Sox go, I'm really disappointed in what they're doing in the offseason. I'm going to be watching carefully because the ownership, the Fenway Park ownership, the Fenway Park Group, they've got what's the soccer team? What soccer team they have over in England, because I don't follow it that much. They got the Pittsburgh Penguins in the group there. They brought LeBron James on. I think they're going to go get the franchise for the NBA in Las Vegas and make LeBron the head of it. So to me, my concern is that they're not helping the Red Sox at all, or they're trying to make the Red Sox the Tampa Bay Rays from about 10 years ago. And that's what I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch to make sure that they still are the Red Sox. I think they're going to lose fans. I think a lot of fans are going to be upset seeing, all these players that are going to go. I mean, there's talk they're going to trade Chris Sale. So
really,
who knows? Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that. So anyway, what's your resolution for sports?
You're not shooting.
I'm not what?
You're not losing any fans. The Red Sox fans are so loyal. They went through 1,000 years, not losing any fans because of ownership. That's a great icon. You know this. You grew up there. They're not losing any fans. They're going to sell out Fenway Park.
Go for it, Hardline. What's yours?
My resolution is to move on from Derek Carr and just call a spade a spade. I just think that, it's run its course. We've had our ups and downs, but my resolution is to evaluate every Raider on the roster and go from there. Look, kind of talking about yesterday's game, I'll tell Fish watching it, that was the most complete game I've seen the Raiders play all season. I mean, from start to finish, it was good. There were a couple questionable calls, but to take the 49ers to the level that they did, hey, and look, as you said, Stidham made some passes. He did some things that I wish Carr had learned during his tenure with the Raiders, especially a lot of times when he's looking downfield, they're playing the shell game, and Stidham just says, you know what, I'm just going to take off, run for 5 yards, and slide. That's what I've been looking for the last 5-6 years, and I haven't been able to get it. And resolution of sports, for me, especially being a Detroit Lions fan, my resolution is to not get feel like my heart is broken when we go on losing streaks. Look, that's part of what it is. Being a Lions fan, there's highs and lows, and I'm going to learn to be kind of, zen with the way that everything goes moving forward.
I love it. All right. That's good. All right. Now it's time. Let's get some memes in here. Fish, I know you've been searching around the internet and you've got some good stuff for us. Hit us with some stuff here. Pele.
Right. If you could hear me, LeBron James said he wants to be as popular as this guy in the world. That's Diego Maradona, also with Pele. In the 20th century, John, there's Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, and that man right there. No person on the planet will ever achieve the greatness and the legendary status of that guy. So rest in peace, phenomenal. All right.
Yep.
So the Raiders stink, right? And you can tell they're going to look at Josh Daniels. Look at his headband for a game. I mean, it's unbelievable. Okay. All right. I mean, he's an idiot. I mean, come on, really? And he know it.
It's
and then
upside
finally
down.
someone on the sideline corrected. You know what? That's our season, but this is what Raiders need right here. Okay.
Nice.
Remember this, John? Daly?
Yeah, John Madden, absolutely.
That's Madden. Madden would smoke on the sideline. Yeah. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Let's go here, guys. This is a great – listen to this quote by former Bronco Nathaniel Hackett. What the fuck was I supposed to do? It's hard to coach a guy who has more bathrooms in his house than touchdown passes this year. Wow.
I love it.
We took Christmas off. We were off for Christmas, but these are some of the resolutions that these guys wanted. Hardline. Look at this one. Look at Cousins.
Ayahuasca.
John Watson wants a massage.
Your mom.
Zach Wilson wants your mom. If you're listening. Baker Mayfield, ban all playbooks. Kirk Cousins stinks at night games, so 1 o'clock playoff games. And then Devontae Adams wants Aaron Rodgers back. Great start. All right, I got a couple more. Check this out. Check out a man cave, John. Read this.
My wife
read
asked
that.
me what the female version of a man cave would be. I told her it's called a kitchen.
All right. So there's a lot of 49er fans there, Hardline, yesterday, but the ones that didn't go, look at their pregame. Look at their pregame warm-up.
It's called driving a stick shift.
ersnyder@gmail.com. Hey, guys.
All right, good stuff. Thanks for joining us here, folks. Again, we are a Daily Fish. We talk sports, entertainment, politics, everything in between. Just like you do, no woke, no extreme, no social justice cops here. Hey, you got a problem with us? Suck it up. You have questions or comments, drop them in the chat box, or if you're joining us live. Otherwise, if you are not, email us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right, now it's time for Schmuck, Swag, and Drinks. Fish, who's been schmucky this week?
Let me get the. Can you see the icon? The
Yeah.
Schmucks. I got 2 schmucks. I got 2 of them this week. 2. Okay, here's the first one. This is amazing. So Don Lemon on CNN is hosting the New Year's Eve thing from New Orleans, and while they're trying to count down, he's partying with these people. He missed the entire countdown. All right. He's sitting there talking to this girl who's grabbing his ass. It's so funny. And he missed the entire countdown. All right. Here's my second schmuck. My second schmuck of the week. Hardline, did you ever watch Wheel of Fortune with Pat Sajak?
Yeah.
Huh?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this is Pat Sajak and his daughter Maggie. All right. So he brings Maggie on and says, nepotism is great. She's taking over for Vanna. And that was just not a right thing to say, not smart, because, look, Vanna's been doing it for 40 years. That's a schmucky thing to do. You can give your daughter the job, but come on. That's the easiest job on the planet.
And Vanna's from Myrtle Beach. All right, so let's see who we're going to celebrate this week. Who's got the swag, Fish?
We lose Hardline? Okay.
We did lose Hardline.
Swag?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you brought the Raiders. Yeah, well, May's pissed off. This guy right here, forget about him possibly being a free agent. Josh Jacobs. I found out what he does in the community. He's gonna lead the league in rushing, and what he does in the community is he has autograph sessions for kids in everywhere, and he just goes out on his days off and goes to children's hospitals, and he's just a tremendous human being. So good for him. He's about to get paid, and that's a great thing for a kid. He also grew up homeless. He lived with his dad for a while. So we're talking about Josh Jacobs' hardline is the swag because he grew up homeless. He does great things in the community here in Las Vegas, goes to soup kitchens on his day, and he's about to get paid.
Yeah.
He deserves it. I mean, he's, not only a great guy, gives back to the community, but, he's had an amazing turnaround season compared to maybe the last couple as well. So congratulations to Josh.
Absolutely. All right. And now we're going to have our drink of the week. We're going to toast Josh Jacobs. What are we sipping on, Fish?
Well, it's cold. It's cold here. Hold on. A Kioki coffee. All right.
Nice.
You can go brandy, Kahlua. Some people put dark cream de cocoa in there, right? And then coffee. So a nice coffee drink. Josh Jacobs, thank you for being a bright spot in this shitty Raiders season.
Absolutely. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Hey, our Daily Fish Drink of the Week is sponsored by Shucks Tavern in Vegas. They have great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to the Shucks Tavern on North Durango. That's on the northwest side of town. And Fish is there overnight. You walk in there, you say Daily Fish Podcast, you get a free drink. Do it the next day, a free appetizer. That's Shucks Tavern. Check out Shucks Tavern on Facebook. And again, folks, this is Daly Fish. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. You can subscribe there. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon. You can watch us on Facebook at the Myrtle Beach Golf Channel and Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. You can check out Daly Fish on YouTube and Wingding TV. And also check us out on Hey Vegas TV as well. That's at heyvegastv.com. Check out our post and our news updates on Twitter and Facebook as well, because we get a lot of them for you. All right, now it's time to get the bets from the Daly Fish Hardlines, as we always talk about. He is John Hardison. He has the podcast, The Cost of Winning, focusing on fantasy sports and sports betting. He's on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. He's with us here every single week. The Hardline, that's right. So, hey, Hardline, TCU, Georgia. We kind of previewed it before. What are you thinking as far as the betting goes? What are you going to take? What are you recommending to folks?
You know what? I'll take a TCU plus 13.5. It's a lot of points that they're giving TCU. I think TCU is a better team than what a lot of people think. They're gritty. They'll grind it out. Especially if Duggan starts going, he can start running that ball the way that he does, start eating some clock. I think TCU's whole game plan, honestly, is run the ball, be effective. Don't let Stinson Bennett get on the field as much as possible. But I think TCU plus 13.5 is an easy bet, honestly. From what we said, and we talked about this earlier, from what we saw from Georgia, they let teams, kind of creep back into games. They don't necessarily just, smash them and keep them down. So I think that TCU is one of those underdog stories that, they might be able to turn the table on them and keep it real close.
All right. Sounds good.
Did you say earlier you're going to call a spade?
He did.
Say what?
Hardline, did you say earlier that you're going to call a spade a spade? Because I'm never going to call you a spade. But I'm going to say, you a good-looking, bald-headed, shrimp-eating motherfucker that comes in the shucks. Give me what you got on the Lions and the Packers. Money line minus 200 because, you know them jambalaya-eating Detroit people are going to go at it this week and beat the pack of ass and send that motherfucker Aaron Rodgers home.
I hope that we beat Aaron Rodgers. But look, the fact is, the Packers got 2 games in Lambeau. They made the Vikings look terrible. Let's just be honest. The Vikings look god-awful last week. There were a couple questionable things that happened. A couple pass interference calls that weren't made. The Giddy not being taunting, because if it was any other team, they would have called taunting on it. But look, the Lions haven't had the best time going to Lambeau. Recently, when the Packers come to Detroit, it's a different story. But with this being said, winning your end, I think the Packers are the sexier team, and I think with them being at home, unfortunately, they get it done.
All righty. I'm actually looking ahead to next Sunday, and it's going to be 27 degrees in Green Bay, but no snow or rain. So to me, if it was completely snowy, I would jump on board with the Packers as well. But I think your reasoning's right there. Okay. Browns and Steelers. Steelers are a 3-point favorite. This is going to be interesting. The Browns played really well, but Steelers got it on the line. Browns don't have anything on the line. Who are you picking?
I'm going with the Steelers. I mean, look, as you said, the Steelers got everything to play for. The Browns, not so much. They're pretty much eliminated. They're already eliminated from the playoffs. But the Steelers, look, they need a little bit of help to get in. They need a couple losses, but they got to keep the train moving. And look, as everybody says over and over, from Chris Collinsworth to everyone else, Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in the 15 years that he's there. Right now, they're sitting at 8-8. A win possibly puts them over, and I think that they get the win over the Browns.
I'm Jaguars and the Titans. Let me tell you who I'm betting. I'm betting Jaguars in this game. No way they lose to either Malik Willis or Josh Dobbs. Who do you got?
I got the Jags. You know what? This is, like I said, some of the best football that they've been playing. Their defense has been really good. They get wins against Dallas. They got wins against Houston. They got wins against some crucial opponents this year. Even the first game, starting off the first game of the season where they played the Commanders, they ended up getting a win. There's nothing that the Titans have done this season that make me ooh and ah at what they have going. And look, honestly, the biggest question is with Tannehill out, do you even bother playing Derrick Henry? Is that something? Because I know he's been injured. Last week when they played Dallas, he was doubtful. I don't think Josh Dobbs is your answer. Malik Willis, I feel bad for his situation because you drafted him and it doesn't seem like you're really giving him a shot to learn and progress in this league. At this point, I think the Jags go ahead, take the division, keep it moving, and we'll see them in the postseason. But I can't bet against the Jags.
Here's what's interesting. The Giants play the Eagles, and you would have thought, oh, this is going to be a game that has, consequences for the Giants. It has consequences for the Eagles.
Yeah.
So who are you picking in this one?
I'll take the Giants plus 13.5. I know they're going to rest some of their starters. I assume the Eagles are going to win, but 13.5 is a lot of points to lay, especially that we don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to play this week coming up. Gardner Minshew looked good in Dallas, but he looked dog shit against the Saints. There's a lot of questions in the air, but I think the Giants cover, but I think the Eagles get the win. I think they end up locking up that seed.
Yeah, I agree. Bills and Patriots. Patriots win and they're in. What do you got? You got the Bills. You got the Bills minus 7.5. What do you think?
I like the Bills. A lot of question comes down to what's the Bills' mindset. If they want to lock up that number 1 overall seed, you got to play your guys. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Even though rest is great, that number 1 overall seed gets you a bye, and then you go from there. I think the Bills, especially seeing the history that the Patriots have had against them, I think Sean McDermott probably wants to stick it to him. I think he sticks it to him hard. He says Bill Belichick home for the postseason, and the Bills get this win. The Patriots are outmatched at pretty much every position that the Bills are really good at outside the running back position. Even though Mac Jones is trying, I just don't think that he's going to have a great game against the Bills. I take the Bills minus 7.5.
All right. Before we get out of the hardline session here, what about tonight? Tonight, you got the Bills in Cincinnati. Who are you picking in that game? Are you taking that game at all?
I'm taking the game. I'll take the Bills. You know what? I like Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is a good team. They've been playing much, much better the last 5 or 6 games compared to where they kind of started off. It was a little hit or miss, I know, because of injuries. And look, Joe Burrow definitely has established himself as a top 5, top 6 quarterback, but I think Josh Allen and the boys get it done. I don't think that they have an answer in Cincinnati for Stephon Diggs or Gabriel Davis, and that's a guy that a lot of people have missed under the radar. He started off the season real hot, kind of been underneath, but Gabriel Davis is a name to look out for tonight. I think that he has a great game. Look, Eli Apple, I don't think Eli Apple can match up with Stephon Diggs. I just don't. I mean, he gets burnt quite a bit of times, and I think this is just one of those nights that's not going to be in his favor.
All right, before we go, Fish, is the last man standing, is it done at Shucks?
No.
3. What?
3 people still alive, all with
Wow.
the loss going into week 18. 3 people.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Okay. Well, we'll find out next week after we do that. And folks, that is the Daily Fish Hardline with John Hardison of the Cost of Winning podcast. You find him here with us every week, but you can also find him on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcast. Hardline sticks around as we get into some more controversy here. All right, guys, we're going to talk a little politics here. We're going to talk about New Year's resolutions. Fish, do you have any as far as what you want to see politically and socially that you're pushing?
Well, I want to see justice. I want to see things get resoluted as far as agendas and start doing things for people in America. There's no water in Mississippi or Flint, Michigan. Yet all our money is going to other countries. We got to fix what's going on in America first. It's a resolution. And yes, we are the policing the world. What about everybody else? But let's fix America first. And we're going to find out in April who's running for president. You have to declare in April who's running. Be interesting. I have my thoughts on that, and we'll get into that in future shows. But let's take care of America first.
What do you got, Hardline?
Absolutely. I think it's accountability is the biggest thing in terms of resolution. I'm interested to see what the House does with this Daniel Snyder case. I know a lot of them have said that once they take over this month that they're going to kind of throw it out. But, look, there's been a lot of issues with the Washington Commanders, things that need to be investigated, things that really need to be people that need to be held accountable, especially for workplace mistreatment. And this is kind of where I give a lot of credit to the NBA for somewhat policing itself, especially in terms of the Robert Serber situation, where there's certain things that employer-employee that you just can't do. And there's a type of workplace and environment that needs to be held to a certain standard. And the fact that reading some of the reports what Daniel Snyder has done and thought that it was okay, especially from the cheerleader tryouts to certain things that he said, I think that that's a guy that needs to be held accountable, and for our politicians to really dig deep into why is this okay, and it shouldn't be just smoothed over because he owns a football team. It just shouldn't. And that's part of it. And look, you're right, Fish. Making sure that we're taking care of the citizens of the United States the most, clean water, food, making sure that education reform is actually happening, making sure that teachers are paid correctly. I think these are things that we really need to sit down and actually talk about and find ways to make actionable ideas into actions.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I agree with you, but I also disagree with you. I mean, should we stop funding Ukraine? Stop funding the war in Ukraine and putting more money into domestic infrastructure? What do you think, Fish?
I'll go. Can you hear me? I'll go
Yep.
first. No, we shouldn't stop funding Ukraine. But I just told John about an article I read on CNN today, and also report that Putin's a madman. It's like with Dr. Strangelove. He's got his finger on that button. No matter how much money we feed Ukraine, if he hits that button, that red button, it all goes for naught. So, no, we still continue to do what we have to do, but we're not taking care of our own. I think the people in Flint, Michigan, and the people in Mississippi and other places where they need help, that comes first. What country on the planet doesn't take care of their own first, then worry about others? You take care of your own family first, and then you take care of other people, right?
Hardline, what do you think?
Look, I'm not saying to stop funding it, but what I'm also saying is, look, we're a country of billions of dollars. We can find ways to allocate resources to other things that, that our budget that the budget that we have allows. Look, there's a lot of things that are out there, whether it's healthcare, whether it's, education reform, that we can put money towards, and we can raise certain things. It's not like we have to be focused on only one objective and one thing. There's multiple objectives. Look, we have multiple people in the House. We have multiple people in the Senate. We have multiple groups and committees. This is why you get things done. You look and you find ways to make these things happen.
Well, here's my resolution. Mine is we're about ready to head into a divided government with the Republicans controlling the House, the Democrats kind of controlling the Senate, and controlling the White House as well. And so one of my resolutions is that there's going to be a lot of disinformation being thrown out there. And if you're seeing it, don't spread it around. What I do is I do two things. One, I go do a fact check, and I'll put that fact check on there. I won't tell them you're an idiot. I won't tell them that they're fools and they shouldn't do that. But I put the fact check on there. And at the same time, too, I'm not going to berate anybody for what their feelings are, what their thinking is. I think a lot of people need to start doing that. And unfortunately, the news media is not helping with that. One of the great stories is this Congressman Santos. Have you seen that story? The guy who got in and his resume is completely falsified. He didn't do anything that he said he did. He's not a Jewish homosexual. He's anything but. He had been married before. And here's the amazing thing it's like, how did this guy get elected? A local newspaper.
But you are.
That's exactly it. You're right. A local newspaper months ago questioned his resume, and nobody paid attention to it. The media didn't pay attention to it. Nobody else, and somebody did, and they're not paying attention to that there. Let me throw one other quick thing out there, because you touched on this, Fish, about Putin. I'm watching Jack Ryan on Amazon, and it is amazing how that storyline parallels perfect what's going on in Russia today. And again, they don't use Putin. They don't have Putin as the president or anything like that. They got fictional characters. But if you watch this, it is absolutely amazing. It's exactly what you said, Fish, is that they're worried about, him putting the button on the nuclear weapon just to kind of get things all tangled up so that Russia can become the superpower again. So I would recommend to folks, go ahead and watch Jack Ryan, the 3rd season. It is fabulous, and it ties into so many different things. Really well shot, funny at times, but it's worth seeing. I would do that. The other thing, let me throw at you guys. What, you guys binging anything that's of relevance?
I finished Jack Ryan. I actually, every time that comes out, I'm a huge fan of it since season 1. So love the way that they did it. Love the idea of how this is happening and the coups and different things. And it's again, each season kind of does mirror something. Whether you talk about second season, talking about Venezuela and everything happening in South America and the oil reserves and all that, up into this. I mean, you picked a great show, and I recommend it to anybody. To me, I think John Krasinski is the best Jack Ryan that I've seen.
I agree. Fish, what do you got?
Yeah. I'm watching something on Netflix called John Daly's What It's Like to Be a Jewish Homosexual. And it takes him through the whole process of him getting his penis, and then he starts hanging out at Jewish social clubs, and he starts bringing his mother there, and they're doing everyone's curtains. It's phenomenal. It's 8 seasons.
Oy vey.
Chris Brosnan plays John Daly. Ben Stiller plays me. Cedric the Entertainer plays Hardline. It's terrific. So John Daly's What Is It to Be a Jewish Homosexual on Netflix. Phenomenal.
I love it.
Man,
how many
did you
episodes?
have the brisk yet?
No, actually, yeah. In episode 3, it's him, and John demands, his character demands at the bris that it's an open ceremony. Everyone gets to watch, but his penis is so small you can't see anything. It's crazy. It's crazy. And by Edie Falco plays his wife Terry. Phenomenal. Go from Carmela, and he goes, John's wife is really a stretch. So it's great.
That's good. Well, the reason why I had the bris like that is because even though I'm Jewish, I'm also Irish too. So the Irish thing ties into that perfectly. Beautifully. All right, folks. We are Daly Fish. We're coming to you from Vegas, Myrtle Beach.
John's the only guy I know.
I was going to say we hit a lot of different things for you as you're hearing here. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. You can also watch us on Facebook, Myrtle Beach Golf Channel, Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. You can check out Daly Fish on YouTube, also on Wingding TV, also Hey Vegas TV at heyvegastv.com. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon as well. You can use all those channels to hear our interviews as well. We have special guests coming up, including on January 12th, Brian Cranston's going to be joining us. And if you got a question, you got a comment, write to us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right, that's the wrap here. So tell me what finish us up here. What are you chewing on right now?
Well, you walked in one of the episodes, in episode 5, John walks into a bar, right? And he says to the bartender, I'm converting to Judaism. So he asked for an Irish coffee, and they put Manischewitz in the fucking thing, and John wanted a discount on the goddamn thing. It was really crazy episode. It was funny. It was funny watching Patty McGuigan saying, "Can you believe I'm dealing with John Dalyberg? It's crazy here, lobbies. It's nuts." Anyways, love you guys. Happy New Year. Can't wait to get this thing all sorted out. And hey, again, rest in peace.
Pele.
Right here.
Pele.
Great. Rest in peace.
Pele.
Oh, the greatest.
Absolutely. All right. Sounds good. We'll see you back here next week.
Daly and I are living vicariously through you. Go Lions.
I'm hoping.